Coach, good
Sure.
morning. Bo Nix over the past month has really turned it on in the fourth quarter in a couple of these games. Is there something where he gets better throughout the game or isn't phased by the big moment that you've noticed?
Well, look, there's a sense of urgency, certainly. And I would say the one thing more concerning is us playing better in the earlier quarters, including him. So I think that's the key. Look, it's been encouraging that we've been able to finish some games, and yet I said this to you guys yesterday. We're going to play in bigger games, um, and we're going to have to be a lot more efficient in the first half of games.
Arnie Stapleton, Associated Press.
Good morning, Sean. Yesterday you said after celebrating that comeback that there would be a lot of hard truths today, and I'm wondering how that played out in your film session and in your message to the guys.
Well, players haven't been in yet. When they come in, we'll have a chance to go through the tape. Look, we gave up 5 or 6 third and 10 or fourth and long conversions defensively. That's nuts. Offensively, we really didn't amount to anything until we got into the end of the game, fourth quarter. Mental errors, mistakes, snaps, wrong reads, you name it. Thought we were better in the kicking game. But we'll have a chance to watch that tape with them and kind of go through the whole game and then go from there.
Parker Gabriel, The Denver Post.
Hey, Sean, offensively, as you just sort of outlined, it's not one thing or a couple things, but a sort of a widespread set of, stuff that you want to correct. Where do you start with that, or how do you attack sort of like a broader set?
Yeah, I think you start with who. Who is it we're asking to do certain things from a personnel standpoint. There may be some guys playing time go up and some might begin to diminish. But you look closely at the personnel, then you look at the scheme, and does it fit us? So there's a lot to that question, but it's a good question.
Eric Dwala, DenverBroncos.com.
Coach, I know you've talked before about what Bo brings to the running game, but from your perspective as a play caller, what sort of stress does that place on the defense when they have to account for Bo as a runner?
Well, it's really just math. When he's the quarterback, you're playing 10 versus 11 in the run game, and when he becomes a running back, you kind of get that number back. So we had a couple design QB runs. Of course, the one that he scores on is a crack play. And so when the backs release and the 3 receivers are releasing, you have one on the crack block. You're now, if I ran that same play and tossed it to a runner, I wouldn't have that same gap advantage, if that makes sense.
Jeff Flagwald, ESPN. We'll skip
Sean,
Jeff.
no, I'm
ahead,
ready.
Jeff.
Yeah, sorry. Sean, I'm curious on the install on a Saturday of a play or Sunday even. Is there a risk from your perspective on that? And if you ever installed it
No.
and decided later they might not be ready for that in that moment?
No, it's really something. If you see something later in the week, I'll give you an example. We played Indianapolis years ago, and Friday we had this fake field goal in. I didn't like the way it looked. Back then we had a quarterback, as a holder, and looking at the practice film Friday PM, and then going back and looking at their field goal rush, it appeared it really was going to be more opportunistic or have a better chance of success if we were on the right hash. And then we changed how we released the tight ends. You have 2 wings there. You can send the one out and hold the other in, and we just basically switched who stayed and who released. And And then Saturday when the players came in, we practiced the change, and we played in that game, and ended up running the fake field goal, and it was successful. It went down to, I think, the 4-yard line, Ben Watson, and we scored, a play or two later. The game ended, we ended up winning by 6 points. So usually the install is complete, but when I hear that term, the hay is in the barn, I cringe. I don't think it's ever in the barn. And so, it was just, look, my kids are out of the house now. So it was Friday, me fiddling around, looking at a few of these situations. And we had tape of New Orleans. We had tape of Kansas City, end of half, kind of similar, no timeouts. So it wasn't end of game. And it was just something, how do we get the ball up and down and possibly out of bounds? And so Saturday you can walk through something like that and put something like that because, you're confident enough. You're not talking about splitting the atom here. But it was finding a way to get, the outside receiver was going to have trouble getting the ball up and down. But coming from the slot where we brought Sutton, we had a better chance, and it was man-to-man in this situation, which was similar to what the Saints kind of got. Kansas City got more of a zone, but it gave us a play that, A, would put the ball in Sutton's hands, and then B, in a situation, potentially get out of bounds. In this case, it didn't, but we had plenty of time to get up and clock it. So I would say over the years, Jeff, I think that there's always something on Saturday that might be, hey, let's play with this. I think these guys are sharp enough to, you get a rep or two of it in Saturday's walkthrough, and you feel good about it.
Yeah, that was my curiosity because I've talked to coaches, others through the years, and some guys don't want to do that on a Friday or a Saturday or even.
Yeah, that's not me.
Yeah.
Especially on Friday. Friday's a practice day. So I'm sure that there's some guys that don't want to do it. We've done it at halftime. Yeah.
Darren McKee, Altitude.
Coach, speaking of play calling, just to mix things up, have you had any consideration whatsoever to hand the play calling off, even for a short period of time, to get a different rhythm in the game?
No, I think we're comfortable as an offensive staff of how we're operating.
Coach, thank you so much for joining today. That appears to be all the questions.
Perfect.